Now, originally, I wasn't going to talk about this show because everyone has talked about it at this point, and there's no denying that most people think it's fucking incredible. In fact, that's what led me to start watching it myself, even though I'm someone who doesn't really watch series at all or shows or anything. I'm mainly the movie guy. But then with that epic finale in season 3, setting up a hopefully definite season 4, which has been said to be delayed until further notice because of the writer's strike. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to talk about this now, considering the fact that when the next season drops, I'll be instantly on that shit and ready to go. So you can probably tell by now that I like the show, and I do. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next season. Although I will have to say I am still rather conflicted because the show wasn't as good as I thought it would be, and I have a lot to talk about. Now, keep in mind, I am the average viewer. I haven't read any of the comics this was based from, so I can't really comment on that. I like to go into most things blind. I don't even like watching movie trailers just to not risk spoiling myself. So with that being said, don't expect this review to be extremely in-depth or contain anything you haven't heard before. Maybe it will be like a different perspective than some people, but I just like giving my opinion out on stuff like this, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. Do expect it to contain some spoilers though, of course, because I don't think there's any way I would be able to talk about this show otherwise. So, here's a few things to describe this series. It's wild, dumb, gory, violent, messy, disgusting, crazy, insane, emotional, bizarre, surprising, and dark, to name a few. And that's it, really. That just sums it up. This series has a combination of so much stuff, like so many different elements. It's very jam-packed and overloaded with goodness and with badness. In both senses of the word, meaning it's badass, but also just not that good sometimes. There's some crazy things that happen in this one, just absolutely bizarre. Some might call it unnecessary things, but I guess that's kind of good for it because it gets people talking. I mean, there's stuff about like fucking sea creatures, for God's sake. And then there's this scene of like someone shrinking, go into another person's inside their hole, and then just blowing them up from the inside. Yeah. While those are just 2 scenes through the entire 3 seasons, there are a lot more instances like that, which still leave pretty big impact on you. Among those things, there are also instances of male domination, or like, I don't know, what's it called? Like, when the man knows they're stronger than the female, so they use them for their own pleasure. Toxic masculinity or something like that. I also saw hints of like child sexuality or like intents of that as well. It sounds controversial, and it is. It is very controversial, and I mean, that's why I'm talking about it, and that's why I'm also saying the show is not as good as I thought it would be. Not only this, but I mean, there's barely any superheroing. Or should I even call it that? Because yes, there is no superheroing because the show shines the light into the dark side of supers, where the general public might adore them like we do, but on the inside they are arrogant and corrupt and only care about their public status and don't have any morals. Which makes this show a pretty unique and interesting watch, and I thoroughly love that aspect of it. But what I meant by like no superheroing initially is that there's really not that much fighting. You know, there's not really that much action, or at least definitely not as much as you maybe would have hoped there to be. In fact, when I first heard of the show, I really didn't want to watch it all that much because at least of what I had seen of it at first, it just looked like a lot of senseless violence and meaningless gore. And while some of it is that, there's actually not as much as I had thought to begin with. And it's like what I was saying before about the controversial moments. Like, there might not be a whole lot of them in this show, but when they are there, they are more impactful and memorable. Now, if you put all these things aside, this show does have a lot of good in it because, like I said, it's not as gore-centric as I thought. Instead, it focuses more on the story, which ended up being a fascinating watch. This show has some really engaging story elements, like the political side and the character side, and the acting is truly impeccable. Like, it just makes you feel, love, and hate some characters, and there are some really high stakes and senses of urgency in this one. And above all else, it's different. Like almost every superhero film you go see, right? The good guys always win, or it's like, a happy ending, or at worst, like a bittersweet one. This one is like the total opposite, where it's just dark and sinister almost the whole way through, and it just makes you hate superheroes in a way. The show's runtime in total as of now is around 24 hours? That's a lot of content, and so there's a lot of downtime where you learn about each and every one of the main characters, the backstories, the upbringings. The time you spent with them is really just an intriguing watch, and you end up feeling a lot more for each of them, whether it's love or hate. For instance, man, I thought Butcher was just a hilarious accent, and his accent in the first season, I just kept laughing every time he would say the C word. Oh man, but by the end of season 3, I didn't really laugh at him anymore. I just mainly felt for him. Homelander, well, I thought I would have loved him, but I ended up hating his guts. The Deep was despicable in season 1. You kind of start off hating him, right? But by season 3, he ended up being like a comedic, like some sort of comedic relief, which is kind of funny. Black Noir was literally a ghost in seasons 1 to 2, but in season 3, he got so much backstory that I was, despite the backstory being kind of weird with the cartoony things, but it still, man, it made me feel really sad at like what ended up happening to him. And A-Train, well, this is where things get a bit mixed. So we all know that at the start of it all, A-Train kills Huey's girlfriend without even a bat of an eye and a sincere apology. And that really set the tone for the series. I mean, like I said, with the series like showcasing the worst from supers, but I thought that would be one of the main story points going forward. But what ended up happening to A-Train at the end of season 1 wasn't particularly satisfying, in my opinion, and it's funny because that plot point felt like it just completely disappeared until like basically towards the end of season 3, where there was a short conversation exchange between them that felt kind of forced, just so viewers can remember. So yeah, it's just things like that, among a lot of other things, where I can't say the show is one of the best. There's a lot of times where I thought some story potential was wasted, like the Huey and A-Train situation. And also one other character that was known to like blow up or turn himself into flames and just blow up like towards the end of season 1. But then, I mean, I thought there would have been potential for him, more content in season 2, but then they just killed him off at like pretty much the first episode of season 2 or something. Also, wait, that bold chick as well in season 2 in the facility or the asylum that Storm chick was controlling. She was last seen on the run. What the hell happened to her? Maybe we'll see her in the next... I don't know, man. So yeah, it does feel like throughout the show thus far, it sure feels like some things were forgotten or put to the side, which is a shame because throughout the show, there's no real super villain. We don't even see the Seven battling any petty crime, really. No wonder there's hardly any action. I mean, I guess you can say Homelander is the real villain in the whole show, and he does an exceptional job as it, but it was more in the shadows. I guess in the first season, it was A-Train, but like I said, I wasn't satisfied with his ending. In season 2, it was Stormfront. She was exceptional, but again, I wasn't really satisfied with her ending. Season 3 was Soldier Boy, which was exciting, learning about the Payback Gang and Black Noir's backstory, but again, ending felt unsatisfying. At least for me. And I can't be the only one that feels that way. I guess the main reason why is because, well, Huey couldn't really fight back against A-Train because he had no powers. So his sudden heart attack towards the end of season 1 was like, oh, okay, whatever. Season 2, I wanted a line from someone, and I don't know if we did get it, But I wanted a line from someone like exposing how much of a racist fucking pig Stormfront was, because two scenes really like boiled my, what's the saying? But it really got me pissed off, man. But we didn't get that. And also Butcher's wife died, so there's also that. And season 3, oh man, I really hated Homelander, and I wanted him to get what was coming to him. It was building up to be a very exciting finale, and it definitely was, but it didn't end up being that. It didn't really get what was coming to him. And I mean, I didn't really hate Soldier Boy that much, even though like the show really tries to make you hate him. Because it tells you a lot of stuff about like some pretty bad things that he's done and stuff. But we spend less time with him, so we don't feel as much hatred towards him as Homelander. With all that being said though, even though conflicted, I am still kind of happy about the outcome, I guess, because it does mean the show can keep going on. So there you have it. I could talk all day about the show and all of the characters I miss talking about, but I'm just going to leave it here. Starlight was great. We didn't see too much of what she was capable of, and that's the thing. You don't really see too much of what the supers are capable of, you know. It's just, there's not a lot of action. It's and also Kimiko was really cool. Like, she's definitely one of my favorites as well. Frenchie and Mother's Milk, all of them were pretty good, but the ones I listed were just standout talking points that I wanted to raise. Ultimately, The Boys was a really fascinating and entertaining watch, but at times it's a frustrating watch, and it's definitely far from perfect with the plot holes and the unnecessary violence and sexual content. Even then, it still makes me look forward to the next season, just to see Homelander get what's coming to him. Oh man, that last scene in season 3, seeing his kid smile like that, and then like going back, reminiscing, or like seeing what horrible childhood Butcher had, and how, like father, like son. Oh man, that scene was way more impactful to me because of that, and so I'm even more so looking forward to next season. And the show keeps getting better too. I mean, season 1 was alright. Season 2 was even better, and that was made possible by Stormfront and her backstory. And season 3 was just insane. How Butcher and Huey finally get powers. It was speculated, and I thought, they would eventually, and they did, which was fun to watch unfold. And season 3 was finally the season where it felt more action-packed. I think Herogasm and the last episode of season 3 were my favorite episodes of the series thus far. Even when it hasn't been action-packed though, the CGI and special effects were still so clean and crisp. And it's been a majorly suspenseful ride where Homelander is just a huge menace with powers and a huge capability that we probably have yet to witness. So with all that being said, and the way The Boys are right now, where each season has been better than the previous, in my opinion, it's like a huge unraveling, right? Where it's like unraveling, each season goes on, the dark and sinister it becomes. Man, I'm sure because of that, season 4 will probably be the best one yet, and I cannot wait for it. I'm going to give The Boys season 1 to 3 overall an A-. Now, even though I said a lot of crap about how it's not that good, like I'd still rate it. I'd still rate it A grade level, just not just A-. I'd still rate it. I mean, that just shows you how good it is despite all of its flaws, man. Now I gotta watch the spin-off Gen 5 or Gen V, whatever that's called. Hopefully that's I don't know if it'll be as good, but hopefully it'll be somewhat close at least. Now listen, I definitely didn't talk about every aspect of the show, like go fully in depth. I'm estimating this video is 15 minutes around. If I did do all of that, this video would be over 20 minutes, and I don't have the time or energy to record or edit that. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. hopefully, like, I'm pretty sure I got all my major points down, or most of what I wanted to say, so that's good. And if I forget to mention anything, it's probably because, yeah, like I said, I wanted to shave this video's time down, and also because I didn't feel it was completely necessary to talk about, or weren't my major talking points, I guess. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.